Okay, I'm recording it down. All right. Let's see what we have done till now. I will just go through the past session what we have done. So what we did was we set up the environment, right? We enabled the commerce, we enabled the experience cloud, which are basically the backbone which is required for this. I hope you can see my PDF. Uh, so last week, what we were doing was deploying the storefront, right? So in that, what we did was initially we added, since we have added, commerce component like, additional fields, additional objects, and so on. So for that, what we did was we created, additional fields, whatever we have created, for example, the SKU and all that. So those things we have added on the different layout and so on. Here you can see that, we have added categories, commerce, entitlement, so that whatever is related to commerce is available there. So that's what we did. We updated the account layout as well so that we have the ability to enable it as a buyer. Buyer is not a standard functionality, it's just a commerce related standard functionality which we have. You can enable or disable as a buyer, and you can add the buyer component as well, which we added. So that's just it's a additional component that we have enabled. Um, so I hope you were able to do all that. Then since we are going to create this site, but we only want specific users to access it. So how we do it is last session we saw that profiles and permission sets and an overview of basically how the security model of Salesforce works with the different permission sets, profiles, and the OWB settings that we need to set. So for this particular thing, we need a buyer manager, and account features. So these three personas we discussed about, and then and we have buyer and buyer managers are generally are out of box permission sets that are provided, so you don't need to do anything about it. But the account switcher is something that you need to create yourself if you want the user to switch between two different accounts and manage that. So that's something we saw. What else did we see? Then you started creating the store. You basically need to choose the B2B Commerce LWR. Before this B2B Commerce thing, there was at least one more template that used to come, which is called Aura template, but now that's deprecated. At a long-term part, Salesforce is coming up from going already from the moving away from Aura components to LWC anyway, so that's why it is happening. And actually, they don't now even show this B2B Aura template. You need to request specifically if you want it. The good part of Aura template was, there was few components like, the integration and all that, so that you can do, or the entire checkout flow, because it's actually a flow in Salesforce flow. So, admins can also go there and modify it. But now it's all, code based. And there also you need to write code, but still there are two components that are flow based. So yeah, you would have created the Capricorn B2B store and so on. And then once you created the store, you have seen these different tiles. Like we discussed last time, there were different workspaces like product, pricing, promotion, customers. To manage the store, there were categories, which is the basic thing that you need to do. And search part and that we saw, you would have loaded the sample data, which basically gives you, one way of looking into the whole data, how it is set up. So one basic set is given. This helps, and then like so that you can review, whatever settings you have done, and then you can basically go and add your actual data later. So the sample data is given, which adds the product, two different products, categories. Categories are just going to the data model again. Product are grouped into categories. Categories are like one book can be a fiction book, non-fiction book, and so on. So those are categories. And then the categories need to put it in the catalog. Now that catalog is the one which is shown on the UI for the menu. So that's how it would be. For example, there will be a catalog for books. So that catalog you can see in the menu on the Experience Cloud. And the media basically is the CMS here, content management system, which we'll talk about a little today. The media basically means the images and all those things which you can add to the categories as well, also to the product as well, so that you can configure. Then we talked about, so this is product related data that it will come up. Then buyer group and buyer account. So like we discussed, account in itself is you need to enable, so that it can participate in the commerce activities. To enable it, you need to enable it as a buyer. Now, your account created as a buyer account. So now, buyer account will be related to, multiple accounts can be grouped into the buyer groups. So account will be grouped into buyer group, and that buyer group will be attached to the store. One store can have multiple buyer groups. Why are we doing that? Because you want to segregate tomorrow based on the buyer group. There are multiple things like pricing and all those, or what product you want to show on the UI on the Experience Cloud, that you can segregate based on these buyer group, right? So basically, this particular group of buyers can go to the store. Others will not go to the store, or these particular buyer groups will have access to the price books. Others will not have. So all those kind of combination you can do depending on whatever your requirement is. Then we saw the price book and price book entries. What are price books? Price books are needed, basic and price book entries. These are needed to show the the amount, the pricing information on the client, how much a product costs, right? So the initial book is the record is called price book. Price book is nothing but an entry which just tells what is the price book name and in couple of dates when it starts, when it expires. So like summer price book. Now in this price book, this particular product will be costing XYZ, like $10 from this date to this date. So this is what it's called. Now to associate to a particular product, you need the price book entry. So price book entry is nothing but a junction object between the product and the price book. So that's what it is. Then we talked about entitlement. Now, entitlement is what is it? It means not every product you want to show to the customer. Some you may not want to show to the customer. So that visibility of a product to be shown or not shown is added on this entitlement. So these are the things, basic data that you will get, initial data. So once you have done this, you will see the store. But still the data will not be available on the UI because or Experience Cloud. Why? Because every time you add a content, it's not directly available. So what you need to do is you need to build the index. Indexing means making it searchable. And to rebuild the index, you need to, there is an option for rebuilding the index. What it does is any changes that you have done, or right now since we are doing it the first time, so everything will be available on the store, all the products catalog. So for that, you need to do this. Now we also talked about the Experience Cloud. So any UI, like what buyer would see on the Experience Cloud, you can control using this experience builder. You can create your own component, or there are multiple existing components that you can use. So we talked about it, and there was one security and privacy setting where we by default it's a strict content security policy, so that we are not able to see the data of other site. What that data would be generally is like a URL for a particular image, for example. So those would be blocked. So you don't want to block all of that, at least for now, because the content right now we are not storing in Salesforce. We may be putting the images somewhere outside, and we want to enable all that. So that's why we enable this security level to relaxed, so that it allows you to see all that. Then to enable that, that's step one. But then also you need to add it to the trusted sites on Salesforce setup. The other part is, now since you remember you created the profiles, right? But without adding this to now this is a site setup, right? Or the experience community setup. Now in this community, you need to tell this community like what users can access this community. So you can provide it using the profile or permission set. Here we are saying that by adding this to this setup, what we are saying that this particular stored site can be accessed by the system administrator and CC plus user. So this, which is the profile, right? So this is what we are saying. This is the way you can control the access to a particular site. Now, what we are doing here is like we added the content images or whitelisted the the URL from where the images are coming. Here also you need to add the similar setting, which is called content security policy. Like I said, it will unblock the images and it will not bother me each time images coming from that. Otherwise, it will ask you for security if you want to add this to the site and so on every time. Creating it now this is not just the setup part. Now you are creating the data for your store, right? So like we discussed, it's catalog and category, which are basically group of products and products. When you for group of categories is a catalog, so that's what you need to store. So there is, I think, already on catalog you would have just called catalog custom catalog. You can change it and then add it to the store. You probably would have tried how many catalogs you can add to a store, which is one only. You cannot add more than one store. The simple reason is one store cannot have more than one catalog, right? So like we discussed, like Amazon site, right? You cannot see two different versions of what products are listed. It will always be one. That's the reason, nothing else. What else? So category, it will be like a menu that you see, like hierarchy, right? Show in menu basically tells that you want to show it on the UI, and you uncheck it, you will see, it will not be shown in the menu. Now you probably will note that why do we need this showing menu if we don't want to show it. So that also we will see. I think in the example if you tried, you would have known. It is generally used for, let's say there are a group of product that you just don't want to show it on the menu item, but you still want to categorize that. Basically, you want to group it, for example, as a promotional category, right? Like in the site that I have created, I created a category group, which is this menu item, but it is not shown in the menu, but it is still there, right? Why do we do it? Just to show the promotional item, like which are most selling prices. If you want to do it, there are two ways to it. One is using the AI, or the other way is manually you can add those products and so that the customer sees the fast moving items or whatever you want to categorize them. So that you can do. So once you have, like we discussed earlier, catalog will have categories and categories will have multiple products. So you can create multiple products. Then we also talked about, if you remember, the primary category, right? The same product you can add to multiple categories, but there will be one primary only, which will be shown when you are searching for a particular product. So that is the concept of primary category, which is good for your commerce certification exam, right? Then account, contact, and buyer groups. So now we have created the product, we have created the categories and everything. Now we want to, and we have created the buyer and buyer groups. But we still haven't created the user who are going to access the site. So that's where this account, contact, and buyer groups comes. So we already have created the account and enabled that as a buyer. Now all you need to do is, go to that particular account and add the contact who will be actually going to buy your product, right? So that you can do. You can go there and enable it as a buyer. Okay, so here we are going to enable it as a buyer. Now you go to the contact and add this contact. Now when you add a contact, you need to also create a user. Why? Because you are logging into the system. So every login basically is a user thing in the system in Salesforce, right? So that's why you need to create a user, and the user will have the license customer community plus. There are three different licenses. We will talk about it today. on the phone. So this is CC plus license that we need to add so that they can access. And buyer group, there are three different personas like we discussed: buyer manager, and buyer and account switcher. So account switcher and buyer manager will need this license CC plus. Without that, we cannot add that permission set itself in the system. So now you created the user, then now the final thing is I think the commerce entitlement policies. Like we discussed, entitlement policies are basically going to let you do the product or not. Here we have created it for all the access, which product you can see and what are the buyer groups that you can associate with it. Then building the search index, we talked about it a little. So, you can specify which are the searchable fields when you are searching, what are the fields that it needs to look for. Then we talked about dot tools and so on. So this is all. And then we need to build the index. Then navigation items, I think we can add, the menu items and all. Okay, and then I hope you were able to add the order list here. And finally, the site was, this is a navigation menu, multi-level navigation menu, which means the catalog we want to show that we need to add the data source as storefront categories. You can have the data source as something else as well, like, some external menu item or so on. So you can add that as well there. I'm not sure if you tried this, but if you could, you could have done, you would have calculated the price list and so on. We will talk about
this
it.
one. I hope not yet started. Nirmal.
Okay,
and
okay.
one question, like I need to know. I have 2-3 questions. Like when we are going to use that entitlement policy, and what is the difference between account, then buyer and buyer groups, then customer. So just I'm confused. Yeah.
Yeah. So see the account, that buyer account is a type of account only. So
buyer account is a type of account. Again, contact.
Sorry.
Contact object.
Contact. Yeah. So one account. So account is like a business account, right? For example, I don't know, some person. It's not a person. It's a buyer account. So by default, it means a company name. You can say. Okay, so this company is going to
account I can consider like a company.
Like a company, right? And contact are the actual person who are going to log into the system. So those are called contacts. So that's what the difference is. So who is logging into the system is the particular user who is who is purchasing on behalf of that particular company, or the company is the buyer account. And now we talked about buyer groups. It's nothing but a group of companies, right? Who are able to access your store.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nirmal, can you do one thing for me? Like I need something like this normal, like a simple definition and some example, so I can understand. If possible, can you do that for me?
Yeah. I mean, it's there in the. I mean, you once you start doing it, we will go through the system and I will show you, all those things again. So this will, come again and again. You will automatically remember it because it will come.
Sure, I will go through again and again. Yeah.
No. In the system itself, these things we will talk multiple times. Yeah. Okay, so this is the part which we discussed last time. So today let's go through this. What we are going to talk. So we are going to talk on the do you see my PPT?
Yes, Nirmal, I'm able to see that.
Okay, so we are going to talk about the Experience Cloud, the CMS and integrations. So the integration part is still pending in the site. We haven't done any integration on that or attached there anything. Then we will talk about the content management system and then a little bit on Experience Cloud. So by now, I think since we have done a little bit on the Experience Cloud, but what is Experience Cloud, right? So Experience Cloud is basically communities it used to call earlier. So anything that you want, the external customers to see or partners to see. So that's what we can publish using sites or communities or experience cloud, right? So that's what it is. It means. So you don't want to expose each and everything what you have and how your data model, what is account contact, all those things. Nothing matters to the end customer. So those things we can do using the sites. So that's what we build. The sites using this or the portals using these communities. So it's basically a window into your Salesforce world. So the
So
other,
experience cloud is part of one section in the B2B commerce, right? One part.
yeah, yeah, it's basically to expose your data of Salesforce to the end user or customer. That's where we use the experience cloud, right? That it could be only for B2B commerce. It could be for there are internal and employee sites as well and so on. So that's what we can do. So you can create multiple experiences depending on who is your customer, who is your partner. So the UI will vary depending on this, and you can create your own branded sites, and obviously you can integrate with the CMS because CMS is common. So this is what you can do. You can use it for brand management because you want to show your company thing to the customer, not the Salesforce data or any Salesforce UI or something. So that's what you can do. All the branding you can do with this. You can create the e-commerce sites. You can create the sales channel with this. You can create online self-service portals. That's what mostly it goes for creating the self-service portals and you can create the partner performance and employee productivity. Basically, the HR sites are also created using this to create a case. For example, you can create this particular site. So these are the main usages of this.
So
Now,
here again, integrate.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Something like integrate commerce also is there, right? So by experience cloud will integrate with the Salesforce commerce cloud as well, na?
yes. So it's nothing. It says that it's integrated, but it's part of a sales. It's part of Salesforce itself. Like we already enabled the Experience Cloud, right? So that means that it's already part of it, the Experience Cloud. So whenever you are creating a commerce application, there will be already a experience site built for you, right? That's whenever you are creating a store, there is an Experience Cloud inbuilt in that. So that way.
Uh, my intention was like experience cloud can be integrated with Salesforce commerce cloud, B2C commerce cloud.
Yeah, B2C, B2B, or anything. Yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah. We have requirements, so
Yeah. But B2C cloud has a different way of doing it, like we discussed, right? The difference between B2C and
yeah,
B2B.
I will ask that in the normal really. I need
Uh, yeah. So to we talked about the community licenses also, right? We were talking about CC plus, and there are a couple of other important licenses. There are multiple licenses, but there are three licenses which are talked in terms of community. One is called partner community, one is called customer community, and one is called customer community plus CC plus,
yes.
which is what we will be doing. How do you decide which one to go to what, right? To decide it, you need to check whether do you need access to lead opportunities and campaign. These are different objects. You need the opportunity campaign in Salesforce, right? If you need it, then you need the partner community license. If you don't need it, then you need to check whether you need access to advanced sharing, report dashboard, or customer access account, or the access as a buyer group. So those kind of things you need CC plus license. If you don't need any of this, then you need customer community license. Why do we need these three different licenses? I think you might have guessed because of the money, right? And CC plus customer community is cheaper because it has minimal access. CC plus a little more, and partner community way more. So that's a difference. And if you use internal license for those users, that will be way costly. So that's how it works. So that's why we don't create, two-sided for internal users. We can give the internal users the license, but the purpose is to give it to the external users so that this becomes cheaper. So the community licenses are cheaper than the internal customer license. That's why actually one of the reason why we don't give, users the internal license. I hope that clarifies. Then we talked about CMS. We are talking a lot on the CMS. What is CMS, right? So basically to create and produce the digital content, right? So what that means is like, any of the media, like images, you can create blogs. And generally in the current context, it will be like, creating the product images and catalog images or the videos you can add. So those kind of things is called CMS. What are the type of CMS? There are three types. One is called coupled CMS. So it is the earlier usage when you create a site, you put everything JavaScript, CSS, everything bundled into one place. So that becomes a coupled CMS. Now you might have guessed it's very difficult to segregate the code or move it to some other place. That becomes very difficult. But then there came a concept of headless CMS. Headless. What is the head in the headless is the presentation. So if you remove the presentation layer, that becomes a headless CMS, right? So basically everything is happening through API. But you can end with that API, what it gives you flexibility is you can tag it to any presentation layer. So that's what the headless CMS comes into the picture. Then finally there is a hybrid. So hybrid means a mix of both of them, and it allows you to go to any third party system, but also gives a flexibility to current system. So basically native to the current. It is native to the current system.
Like for headless CMS, do you have any example? Like
It's
suppose
basically API, right? So whatever you want, so Salesforce is also headless also, and it's basically hybrid. So basically what that means is you are exposing your backend as API so that people can fetch your images from that particular workspace and those kind of things.
okay. Yeah, it is something different really for me. For content management system, also something like headless means no matter of which technology they are using, they can provide the content, right?
They can know. Like I said, headless. What is head in headless? Means presentation layer. So you don't have a presentation layer, and everything you have, you can create multiple things, and you can expose it as a API. So that means it becomes a headless CMS, and that you can tag it to any head or presentation. So you can create it to today you want to use it, tag it to the Salesforce. Yes, it's available to tomorrow. You want to put it to, let's say, some other content management system. That also is feasible. That
Okay, got it, got it.
basically the name itself, suggests what it is. And
Yeah.
less presentation less.
So
API.
by using through API, we can able to achieve this, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is just a theory. You probably don't really need to use it as such. But yeah, I just wanted to give you an idea what CMS is and what is Salesforce CMS, right? So in Salesforce CMS, it basically allows you to create the content to any channel. So whatever you are creating in Salesforce CMS, so you will create a workspace and channel, and you can publish it to multiple channels. The channel could be your commerce site, or it could be a marketing email. For example, you can write a post that you can, or a scrub that you can put it to, or a blog that you can put it in other places. So that's what you can do. Or you can publish it to the customer community partner portal. So basically, you can any channel outside Salesforce also you can do, which is like the address thing. How you do it is there is an app, digital experiences app. I don't know if you saw it. On that you can create, or manage the life cycle of. So there is a life cycle. What that means that you create a content, then you can publish it. So it basically creates a draft. Then you can publish it, and later on, unpublish or archive as well. That you can.
Okay.
We will see it in the demo. So how does the Salesforce CMS work? So initially you will have to create a CMS workspace. Since you created it as a from the sample data, so there is a default workspace that it has created. Now in that workspace, that there will be multiple. The channel would be in this case your store, right? What would be there in that will be one folder with or without folder, there will be multiple images of all the products. So those products, product images, you are publishing it to the particular site. So that's what the purpose of creating this particular workspace is for me. In this, there are three. This is useful for your certification if you are trying. Where they will ask, what are the roles? There are three different roles that you can provide. So one is called admin, the other called content admin, and the third one is content manager. So all the three are users of Salesforce only. But Salesforce admin is like they're, like normal admin, they have everything, access to everything for all digital experiences and everything. But you want granular access, so that becomes a content admin. So you want only for that particular workspace, someone should have access. So you will create it as a content admin, right? So you can what you will be able to do, you can add other contributors, you can add channels, so all those things you can do. But only for that particular workspace. Now there is another thing called content manager. So content manager will be able to publish any new material. That's the only thing you can do. You can write and publish. So it's basically level of granular. Yeah, these are the questions they will ask generally. And this is the role of an admin to assign one or the other. Um, by Okay, so this was about a little bit on Experience Cloud and CMS. I hope you got that, and we'll see a little bit more on the actual demo. Let's talk a little bit on the integration, right? So, what sort of integration Salesforce is providing? So, when we say integration in Salesforce, so there are four integration steps that you probably would have noticed. So, which are called tax, shipping, and payment provider. So these are called these are the things that you need to add, right, to the site. Shipping basically means calculating the shipping cost, right? And like UPS delivery day one or something else or prime delivery, all those kind of things are called shipping. What would be the shipping for this particular thing so that you calculate? Then you will have to incur taxes. What would be the tax amount? So for that you need a service, so that you need to create. Then for payment, right? So you need to create a payment gateway adapter. So basically either you want to use credit card or not, so that's something you can do. So generally there are two options. One is using, one is using the credit card or other things, and the other one is using the purchase order. So these are the two things. If you see the screen here, you can see the shopper.
And the
They can
B2B,
go,
like apart from this credit card, usually they will do something like a
Yeah.
manual work as well, right? Like a
yeah, that's called purchase order. Purchase order management.
okay.
You. Yeah, how's this integration working, right? So you have multiple shoppers who are going through the checkout steps. So the checkout steps are like like it's similar to how it happens in Amazon, correct? So you go, you first add your payment method, then you add your address and so on. So based on the address, it will find what would be the shipping. What would be shipping and you can choose the shipping method, and then you can go to the next one. So that's what we are the checkout steps, right? So that checkout processing happens, then everything, all of this happens to the connect REST APIs. So there will be multiple REST APIs. Right now we will be using the dummy that Salesforce provides, and I'm sure you can take that and modify it as you need for your, because every customer will have a different take on that one. Then it goes, so all of these are enqueued, right? So when you click, it will go to the message queue, and that integration is possible using it's internal, so but it goes to the task handler. That task handler basically will be taking it to the handler factory. So what what we will be doing is we will be creating these classes, right? Different Apex classes, and we will be saying that for shipping, go to this class. For text go to this class and so on. So this handle factory will instantiate that and provide it to the integration handler, which will be calling the different services and will respond at when it is completed. So overall, what you will be doing as a setup is creating this web store config, wherein you will be providing that for text, go to this service, for this, go to this service, and so on. And yeah, and you need to write the code there, and basically the integration things that whatever happens in Salesforce, like name credentials, where you need to specify what are the username, password, all those things. We need to mention that, and with that we'll be able to. I think we are out of time. Let's go to the other meeting and can start again. Can you join that other meeting?
Sure, I will join there, Nirmal.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.